Hello everyone. Today we will be going through the machine learning techniques. So most of the data scientists spend their time in data pre-processing. Even in that pre-processing, we can have a different type of data, and that can come with lots of missing values. Today we will see how can we deal with the missing values in a data. So for that we will be creating a new file, and that is going to be our ipython notebook. Let's say call it missing data, and extension will be ipynb notebook. That's it. Okay. So we need to create a data frame that will have missing values, and we will be needing few of the libraries. So one of them is pandas. We can import pandas as pd. Also we may need numpy, mp. We may also want to visualize the data to see the null values, so we can use few of the libraries. One of them is seaborn. It is very popular library for visualizing the data as sns. To plot the graph, we may need another library which is matplotlib, and even that we will need pyplot. Let's call it plt. I think we should be good with those libraries. If we need, we can import it later. There is one way of creating data in the pandas, and that will be I call it dictionary method because it start with dictionary. Let's say we have three columns: a, b, and another column we can say c. For values we can define a list, and we can call it 1 2 3. For null values we can divide using numpy library, and that, let's say we have 5 values. I think it will be simple to keep it 5 just to understand. In every column I'm creating some of the missing values. Call it 4, and here let's make it null. Okay, no worries. In the third column we can have 2 missing values. So this is our going to be data. For that we need to create a data frame, so let's call it df, and df will be pd dot data frame. We will be passing this data inside the data frame argument, inside the data frame. I think we are good to go. Dot head will help us to visualize. Let's put some commas there after every column. Okay, so we have our data frame which has 5 rows and 3 columns. In first column a, we have none values at the fourth row. There is another method of doing this to know how many missing values are there. First thing is we can directly say df dot is null. It will return you a binary data frame that will have true or false. True will tell you the missing values, and for the same, if I replace it by, if I add one more function to sum all the null values, then it can tell you the numbers. So in third column we have 2 missing values, in b we have 1, and in a we have 1. Now we know that how many missing values are there. There is another way of doing this using visualization. For visualization, we can use the SNS, that means seaborn. We can draw a heat map, and in heat map we can, the first argument will be our data. Here it is df. There are few other uh, argument that we can define. Color bar, let's keep it false for now. And color map, let's keep it viridis. You can take anything that you want for this C map. Now let's try drawing this here. Before that, we can give it a title can be anything. I'm keeping it missing values. Okay, the final step will be plt.show. So this is the beautiful graph that we are seeing. How can we interpret this? So in a column and on 0th row, we can start from the top. A third row, that means the fourth row in our case, so it is showing no color, that means it is a blank value here. Similarly, in the C column, at the fourth place and second place, we have the null values. Now since we know how many missing values are there, we can try either replacing it or we can deleting those rows. The first thing that we can do, we can try deleting those values using the function that is drop na, drop null values. So let's create another data frame that will give you the rows or columns without the missing values. We have the data frame that is df, and if I use drop na here, it will give you a data without the missing values. But if I keep it simple without any argument, it will delete all those rows where we have the missing values. Let's try printing this using head function, and you will see we have only two rows where we didn't have any null values. Why second and fourth? Because in first we had one null values, in first row we have null values, and in also fourth row we have null values. That means we are only left with these second and fourth, in our case third and fifth rows. Okay, but what if I want to delete those columns where I have the null values, not the rows? Simply we can do it by using the same function drop na, but now we will be passing one argument and that will be access, and in this case it will be 1. If I keep it blank, then access will be 0 by default. That means if you want to delete column, you need to define a separate argument access equals to 1. Now let's print it. You can see there will be no column because every column has some null values. That is one way. Either we can delete it and we can impute it. So we have seen the deleting method. Now we will see how we can impute. There is one very famous library in the machine learning. So from sklearn dot impute, we can import simple imputer. What it does, it can help you to replace your missing values with some numbers or some methods like mean, median, and mode. And there is another method that is constant. We can also replace by the constant. Let's try one of those. So we can say imputer equals to, we first need to create an object and we need to define our strategy. Here we can choose for mean. So mean means it will replace the missing values by the mean of the column. So df mean, we can call it mean data frame. and here df dot again pd dot data frame. We need to change it to data frame. So we will be using imputer object that we have created, and in this we will be using fit and transform. So it will fit and transform your data frame with the mean method. Also column name will be the same columns that we have used in df dot columns. So I don't need this, and we can simply run this. Okay, so you are seeing 2.75, and that was the mean of this a column. So if I add those and divide it by 4, that means 6 plus 6 plus 5, it's 11. 11 divided by 4 equals to 2.75. So it is replaced by the mean. We can try another method. Let's say we want to replace it by the median, and here we can say med. Now it's correct. So what happened if I replace it by 2 point, so it is replaced by 2.5. Also we can do one more thing. We can replace all the missing values by a constant number. We can simply do it by defining the strategy equals to constant, and there will be another argument that will tell you fill values. So let's say in this case we can say it is 1. Now all the missing values are replaced by 1 now. So this was the method if we want to handle the missing values in the linear data. What if our data is not linear or it is categorical? Let's take an example of that as well. I have one data that I have downloaded from the Kaggle, and it is Titanic data. So what I can do here, I can we have already imported the panda, and using that we can import that data. I have downloaded it locally, so I can define the path df, and in my case I have already copied the path, so pasting it here df, and I want to check how many null values are there. So df is null dot sum. It will tell you the values. Okay, so it should be pd dot read csv. It is telling me that in cabin column 687 are null values, and age column has 177. We can also see the data using df dot head function. Now you can clearly see in cabin it is a categorical data. C123, which is a string value, C85, it is a string value, and how many total values are there. So shape can tell you df dot shape, not this one, yeah. Out of 891 rows and 12 columns, 687 are missing values. There is another column which is ace, and it has 177 because it is a linear, so we are not interested. We are just interested in this Kevin column now. Okay, the first method is obviously you can delete that directly. You can delete those rows where it has the missing values. So let's say you want to impute those values. To impute that, what we can do, we can use one function fill na. It will help you to replace those values by some other values, and it can be mode. We have already seen one example of mode using simple imputer library. Now we will see another function that we can use for these kind of operations. So we can call the simple column, and let's say we are gonna work on cabin. Okay, again a df cabin column. We are going to fill that column with the fill na function. So we have already called that. Now let's say we want to replace those null values with the most frequent values that is in the column. There is a way of finding that, and that is df dot. We can, because we want to find the most frequent values of the cabin column, so here it is cabin dot. We will be using mode function. Once we have all the values, we will be selecting the first value, and that will be 0. So it will tell you the location, index location. I think it has replaced the values. We can simply check. Okay, so it will tell you how many missing values are left. So in cabin we don't have any missing values. Earlier it was something 687 out of 891. Now it is 0. So all the missing values have been replaced by the most frequent one. We can also simply see using df.add function. Okay, so most frequent value was b96, b98, right? And all the missing places have been filled by this. Is there any other method that we can use? Yes, we can also replace by any constant value. For that, because we have permanently removed the missing values from using mode function, so we have to import the data again, so that we can have the missing values. Now we will try to use the constant function, but using fill na. So there is another way of doing that. uh, Again, the cabin column, we will be implementing every change on the cabin. We are going to work with cabin and using fill na function, so we are calling that. And we can directly say the missing value should be replaced by some kind of string. So here let's say random. I'm gonna replace by random. So let's say, what if I print df dot head now? In place of blank value, now we are seeing random. So this was all from my side. You have seen different ways of replacing or deleting the null values from the data. If you want to work on the machine learning algorithm, the first step that you are going to pre-process your data so that it will be suitable for your machine learning algorithm. And the first step in that is replacing all the missing values or deleting the missing values. So that video was dedicated to that only. See you in the next video.